Hi, I'm Pamela Isaacs. Welcome to another edition of Insight. Today my guest is Ms. Sandra Storr, Managing Director of the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation. Ms. Storr, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ms. Isaacs.
Okay, thank you for taking a little time off your job to come and speak with us and to educate our listeners as to how they can get a mortgage, how they qualify, etc., etc. But first of all, tell us what was the reason for the creation of a Bahamas Mortgage Corporation and when was it formed?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Isaacs. The Bahamas Mortgage Corporation was formed by an Act of Parliament in August of 1983, and we began services to the public in October of 1983. We were formed to provide mortgage financing to Bahamians of low to middle income, and that we provide that through home construction, purchases. We even do vacant lots. So any way you can imagine that you need to get a home on this island, and that's the entire Bahamas, by the way, not just Nassau, because persons tend to associate the Bahamas with Nassau. So we really service the entire country. And our main office actually is located on Russell Road in Oaks Field. That's directly opposite the McDonald's drive-thru, a blue building. That's the head office. We also have offices in Grand Bahama at the government complex on the Mall Drive, and an office in Abaco, in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. And we provide, like I indicated earlier, services to the entire country by way of a family island officer. We have a team that would go to any island where it's necessary. So we have loans in all of the major islands.
I want to talk a little about the family islands as we progress.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask is, you know, Ms. Storr, we have a lot of single women in our country.
Right.
But before I get to that, you mentioned something about vacant lots.
Right.
What you mean is, if I have a piece of property or someone has a piece of property and they want to build on the lot, now, must this property be already paid for, or can you still be paying for this property? Right. How does that work?
Well, let me tell you a bit about our services. And first of all, what I want to say, though, is that persons, when they think the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation, they automatically think the Ministry or Department of Housing. We've always been partners, and we finance the housing program. The Ministry have housings program, but we also have a private portfolio that persons, that we're marketing now because persons don't know about it, a lot about it. It's an excellent product. So back to your question, you asked about the vacant land. That is just one of our offerings. Okay. If you have a piece of vacant land that you own, it's free and clear. That means you don't owe the bank or anything on it.
Right, it must be free and clear.
No, it doesn't have to be.
It
can be.
Okay.
Or if you have a loan, let's say you're under financing at a bank, right, and you maybe owe 19, 20,000, I'm just using that rounded figure. Right. You're paying on it. What we can do is pay out the bank to secure that piece of land, because of course we have to have legal, you have to have full, it has to be free and clear. Right. We'll pay them out, and persons, when they're doing that, must be constructing a house on that lot though. Okay. So if you just want to come to us, say, okay, I have this piece of land, I just want you to pay out the bank, we can do financing on that land from scratch, but when we're going to include that in it, you have to be constructing on that property. And mainly because while we're in the market, yes, we want to make a profit. We're not motivated by the profit because our mandate is to get persons in home and keep them in homes. Right. So we won't want to take the funding we have. Of course, the funding is limited. Everyone always looking for money, including us. But we want to get you in home on that piece of property. Okay, so if you want to just purchase a piece of vacant land, which you maybe in 2 years or so you want to start construction, we can do that too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, while you're talking about, I was going to ask the question later, but since we're on the topic, and you talked about wanting to put persons in a home, right, my mind immediately went on young people. Mm-hmm. Do you perhaps go around, say, to the various government offices or the private sector, or even in colleges like COB, and encourage, particularly, like I say, young people, because you know, we were all young and we all want a car,
right.
Especially nowadays.
Right.
And do you go around and say, hey, the car could wait?
Right.
Get a home first. How is that done?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things we've been doing recently is going to the defense force, we have the police force. In fact, tomorrow we have a session with the new recruits at the prison, because you find that young persons, they get in there, and like you say, the first thing they want is a car loan. We want you to take that money and invest it in something more, buy a piece of real estate, get in a house, because one of the biggest problems we find is that when they do come to us for a mortgage, they're debt burdened. Bahamas love consumer loans. So they have the car, then they have the vacation and all the other stuff, and the furniture for the house, for their apartment, wherever they live. So we've been doing that, and we're going to up that program where we are going to go into the high schools, and so we want to start from there. So that way we realize, and there are a lot of young professionals too. A lot of the young kids coming out now to college, they're making more money than people who've been in the job 30 years.
Yes.
So, and we want to not only capture that segment of the market, but also encourage them to invest their funds wisely.
I think that's an excellent program.
Thank you.
Perhaps you need to go, you have these young boys packing at the supermarket. I mean, they're going to grow up one day too, and we need to start at that stage.
Right.
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea.
And actually, you mentioned that we had a program where we're reviving it, where we go to the school and we read. We read it. We have a reading program where we have members in their own time, on their lunch hour, they read. And we also had a program, we even had a contest where do you understand the mortgage, or do you understand what it's about? And we encourage them to save. And from that point, you bring them up with the thought in mind that I need to save and I need to get me a home on this little piece of rock.
Right. Yes, it is a good idea. Because like we all know, young people want a car, and I think it's excellent in that you're changing the way young people are thinking.
Right.
For the better, of course. How does, all right, you put them together and you tell them, okay, you need this and you need that. How can they qualify if perhaps they're not making sufficient monies? So what do you do to encourage them to qualify?
Right. Okay. One of the main qualifying criteria is your debt service ratio. Okay. You have what we call a gross debt service ratio and a total debt service ratio, GDS and TDS for short. Your gross debt service ratio is the amount of funds or the ratio you would pay on that mortgage itself. That should be 30% or less. Your total debt service ratio is 40%. That's your house payment and all the other consumer loans you have. So when I mentioned consumer loans earlier, you see you kind of have like a 10% spread in there for the other loans. So, and I mentioned a lot of persons coming there debt burdened. So if you come to us, let's say you already got a car, you already got a couple other loans, and your TDS, even without the mortgage, is already over 40%. That's a problem. Okay. In addition to that equity, that minimum 5% on whatever your loan is, you need to pay that mortgage. You need to live. So you have light bill, phone bill, grocery. So, we can't take 19% of your salary and you don't have anything to live on. So in qualifying for a loan, we do an assessment where we take your income, your expenditures, and tell you what amount you can qualify for. And persons actually, we call that a pre-qualification. And they are equipped then, you can go out in the market and say, okay, I can get a $140,000 loan. Let me see what I can call, let me find a piece of lot, or if I can find a property, or even the foreclosures at the banks, because we've had a lot of those recently too. There's a lot of inventory in the markets with the bank, and you can get pretty good deals on them. My person's been coming in with pretty good deals, and once you do, you go to the bank and you bid on that, and when they accept your bid,
you could come to you.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Bahamas Mortgage Corporation.
Right. They pay their deposit at the bank, they execute a purchase agreement, and they come in for that loan. And once you've paid a lot, let me clarify the deposit. If you have paid 5% to the bank already, we don't say, okay, well, that's them, you need to come with another 5%. No, that's your 5%. So you already have equity in that. And we'll use the equity in that project to make it easy for you to qualify. We try to help. We don't want to increase our arrears, which We'll touch on it a bit later.
I have that.
But by the same token,
we
we want to get persons in home, but we want good mortgages. Okay.
So, well, what if, like going back to, as I was saying, do you encourage married couples, or can someone be single with a couple children?
Right.
This is totally based on your income then?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't discriminate
You
on
don't,
the basis.
right,
No.
that's what I was getting
No,
at.
any single, married. I know in financing there are certain high-risk categories where persons tend to feel you're not being quite well. That's kind of unfair because, and one of those I mentioned, let's say you have siblings or maybe a parent and child. In financing, you call them, they're a bit more high risk, simply because, not that they can afford it, because when they come from a mortgage, together their salary, their income, expenditures is sufficient to service that mortgage. But to give an example, let's say you have a parent and a child. They're working young person, maybe 20-something, 20-year-old, and a lot of persons, they went, well, let me help my mom, qualify, get a home for her. And when we tell them, okay, we'll look at this high risk, if there's heavy reliance on that young person's salary, that's more of a concern for us, simply because you find that later on down, they want to get out and do their own thing. Okay, they want to get their own home, or they may get married and move out, and of course they have other bills then, and that leave mommy on her own, and she can't service that mortgage the way she could with that child's income. So not that we won't do it, but those are loans we look more carefully at.
Right.
Single persons, yes, single men, or people think single mothers. We have single
men as well, right? I was going to get to that.
Yeah. Yes, single men with kids, with or without kids. Like I say, we don't discriminate. But as long as you can qualify for that mortgage, you're able to get we can do a mortgage for you, single, married, whatever the case may be.
All right, hold that thought, because I have a lot of questions in my head when we come back.
Okay.
We'll be back right after this message.
Did you know that there's a right way and a wrong way to put out your trash for collection? All trash must be bagged, sealed, and properly contained. All garbage cans must be covered. Garbage should not be piled around the bin. Only standard food waste products should be placed out for weekly collection. Do not leave out items such as appliances, furniture, and auto parts. Bulk items can be picked up by DEHS. Let's keep the Bahamas clean, green, and pristine.
Hi, welcome back. Today we're talking with Ms. Sandra Storr, Managing Director of the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation. Now, Ms. Storr, just before the break, we were talking about how persons can qualify for a loan from the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation.
Yes, Okay, we talked about, like you mentioned, how they can qualify. What I want to share with you is what we have to offer. First of all, our interest rate. We're tied to prime, so our rate is always 2% above prime. Prime now is 4 3/4, so our rates are now 6 3/4%. Up to the maximum loan of $237,500, 237,500. So you remember now too, we talk about the debt service ratios. So persons may come and say, well, I need a $200,000 mortgages, and that is our more middle segment. Upper middle segment, like I said, we have our target market is low to middle income. That's our middle income segment. They must also qualify for that. Also, we have what I call a one-stop shop concept. We include the insurances in the mortgage payment. So when we give you your mortgage payment, that includes your principal and interest payments on the mortgage, your hazard insurance rate, and life insurances. Because we have to ensure, of course, that the asset is covered at all times.
So when you pay, you're paying for all of this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we self-manage it. The programs, the insurances programs are unique because we have group plans. So we ensure that our customer get the best rate. It's a unique plan to go into some explanation, but when you pay, you don't have to worry about, well, at the end of the year, oh boy, I got to find $3,000 to pay these insurances. You don't feel it as much when you include it.
No, you don't.
It's the one-shop concept.
Because I wanted to ask Mr. what is the advantage of getting a mortgage from the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation as opposed to the banks. Now, we all know the bank rates are high, interest rates are high.
Right.
We know that.
Right.
Other than that, why should I come to the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation and not to the bank?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the insurances at the banks, well, the majority of the bank, I can't say it all encompassing, but for the most part, you would have to, you go and seek your own life or private insurances. And actually, the life insurance is an even bigger savings because we have a program where it's a group plan that is funded by the Mortgage Corporation and is managed by, we go to tender every 3 years, a particular insurance company. And right now, we cover you for the balance of the mortgage at all time, whatever the declining balance is. Okay. $17 single, $29 joint a month. You can't find it. It's hard to beat that anywhere. Yes, $17 single, $29 joint.
What?
And of course, the homeowners insurance, we negotiate the best rates because there's businesses that are coming to them that they don't have to look for. So you have a business portfolio provided to you that these persons paying. So, those reasons, and you don't have to remember, well, my insurance do this month, or there, we manage that program.
So we need to give you more programs like this to spread the message.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little about when persons are in default.
Okay.
What do you encourage homeowners to do? Because this is we live in a real world.
Right.
Things are now tough.
Right.
Can I come in and rearrange my mortgage or what? What do you encourage homeowners to do?
Right. Defaults are a fact of life. And at the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation I mentioned earlier, we want to keep persons in homes. We're not about selling homes, we're about getting your home. Unfortunately, sometimes you have persons that fall into default, some because of their own making, they just don't prioritize. A lot of it is because of out of necessity. For instance, when we went in the downturn and recession over the last several years, we find a lot of persons, a lot of them stay away. We go out to them. We actually have a customer care team where we now, in addition to going out on the front end to get new mortgages, we formed a customer care team where we actually go into the subdivisions. Okay. We've done several of them. We'll take a Saturday morning, we'll carry a little care package and we go house to house and just visit and tell persons it's not only targeting persons that are in default, but persons who are also current, because we cannot leave them out of if it weren't for them, we'd be behind. Now, the majority of our portfolio are up to date. Because if you got a 30-40% arrears, that means you got 60% of people who pay it. And if it weren't for them, we would not be there. So, and we really want to encourage them. And so those are a lot of people you don't see. For instance, persons on salary deduction, we get the money automatically. So they have really no reason to come into the office. We pay your insurances, your money come into us. So we go to them and say, look, if you don't understand about a claim, here's what you do. We're coming up into the hurricane season soon. And normally we'd go, like when we go around, we'll tell them, okay, if you have a catastrophe, this is what you do. This is your first line of contact. So they educate them on what to do.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask a question about, in the process of building, how are the contractors monitored? Because we've heard some horror stories with contractors. We won't go into any detail, but like I said, we live in a real world and these things do happen.
Right.
How are contractors monitored while these homes are being constructed? Okay,
I mentioned earlier that while we're partners with the Ministry of Housing, we have our private portfolio that we're managing. Mainly that's what I'm talking about today.
Okay.
On our private side, let's say you come in with a project where you have a piece of property, I want to build a home. We give you a list of things that you need, and that would be your approved plans from the Ministry of Works. And once we submit that, you get your estimates. You submit that. We have our technical officer and our technical team look at it. They execute, they put together a contract with stage payment. Usually it's like the 5 stages under retention, and you sit down, because the customer is the owner of that contract, and we sit down with their contractor, explain it, we go over it with them, this is what you do, this is what, and we lay out all the terms of that contract for the construction. Now, in terms of that program run a bit more smoothly. I know you mentioned earlier that you hear all these horror stories. That's more the housing side, the housing subdivisions. But with our private portfolio, we we sign that contract. The contractor should go there and start construction and get that to that first stage. At all the necessary stages, foundation and roof, we have to have the Ministry of Works inspection. We also use private inspectors. Okay. We have also a technical officer. So you have threefold. We have our technical officer who would monitor those programs, that construction, who would look at it, check on it. But the private inspector, he'll go to every stage. We'll send him a letter at the beginning and say, okay, you look at this is the project. So when he's ready for inspection, the contractor would call him and say, okay, I have an inspection. So he looks at it. He send us the stage payment request. The customer has to sign off on that request also before we release that stage payment. So we find it runs, you have your little hiccups every now and then, but it runs pretty smoothly like that, and we were able to get a lot of projects out and satisfactorily to the customers. Sometimes even on the other side, the customers would say, well, you all could pay me, the work done. We say, no, well, it's not done to our satisfaction. Especially if you got to fix that tile, you got to fix that. Right. No, man, y'all could pay him. No, we're looking out for your interest.
Your interest, right.
Besides the fact that it's our asset until you pay it.
Right. So. But you mentioned hotel employees, and what came to my mind, and I found out that a lot of the hotel workers, the banks won't give them a mortgage. They look at them more as a liability. Yeah. And I also must mention, because I know some women who do work in web shops, and they've told me that, we can't get. Does the mortgage corporation accommodate this type of person in this kind of working in this profession?
Yeah. Well, any person's back to first question with the hotels. I mentioned earlier that and I don't want to say lenient to the point of detriment, but we're lenient to the point of where that hotel worker, for instance, when I say, oh, you wait to the hotel, forget that. We have to look at it, because the reality is we're there to provide them with a home. Right. And we have to look at, they might have 20 years tenure on the job. Yeah, you may be a little slow now, things may be a little slow. So we may sensitize income, particularly if it's gratuity, rather than say take 100%, we'll do it at 85% to sensitize it a bit. But any job you mentioned, the web shops, whatever, any employment, we have legislation we have to follow. We have the compliance commission that they come in and they do their inspections, and we have to be on point. So it has to be a licensed business.
Right.
So as long as it's legal, you got a license for it.
Then you're okay. Yes, because you say,
stick to legislation when it comes to that.
And we are dealing and living in a real world, and that is why I asked the question, because some of them have asked me to ask this question, and I get feedback, and some of them have been turned down, and I always thought that was not fair. But now that I know what I know,
you have to comply with the regulations.
I'll send them to the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation.
Well, but it was like I said. Now remember, as long as it's a licensed legal business, we will not go against what the law says. Right.
No, that's understandable, Ms. Storr. That's understandable. All right, we've covered quite a bit of ground, and you have the last word on this topic today. Moving forward, moving ahead, say 10, 15 years from now, tell me what you would like to see happen for this country, the whole of the Bahamas, as it pertains to housing in this country, or as it pertains to persons owning homes in this country.
Well, in the more long term, we need to have, I hope to see persons become their own home. We have a person renting for 25, 30 years, and technically you paying off that person's mortgage. And we need persons in their own homes, and I know that's expand, go to the Family Islands. I know we have certain developments earmarked for the Family Island, and everybody wants to stay in Nassau. Spread out a bit. It's easier. The projects you can get, even in Grand Bahama, which is also a city, if you see the prices, some of those homes and they come in at, you talking doubling that for Nassau. So I want to see a case where we have persons in their own home paying their mortgage, and of course that goes hand in hand with the economy and how things are and how we fare as a country. But and pay a mortgage, we want to see more responsibility too, because I mentioned yes, the majority of persons are paying their mortgages, but you have persons, when you have a government corporation, they hear government, okay? It's not a giveaway. If you have to pay it for someone else to get what you've got. Okay, we have to take that money you're paying and we have to turn it over and generate more homes for other persons.
It's not free.
It's not free.
Right.
It's not free. So yes, we offer a more affordable product, but you need to be responsible and pay it. Do not go and get a lot of. Stay away from the consumer loans until you can. After you get your house and you can afford that payment and you pay that on time. But all the frills you can do that later. But we want to see that. We want to see Bahamians become homeowners. Yes.
Right. I want to ask this quick question though, because you mentioned family islands, and so my mind ran on retirees or persons who've worked most of their lives. Are you just like the bank, and as we get older, we become a liability, we don't qualify? What if a retiree, perhaps, some of them are going to the family islands and to build, can they sort of come in and ask for some assistance from the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation?
Well, one thing I must mention is we do first homes. First-time homeowners, because it's particularly now, not that it will always be like that, but because you have limited funding and you have such a large market out there with persons that need home. If you're a retiree and this is your first home, some people retire at 55, 50. If you say, I don't want to stay, I don't want home, I've been in Nassau all my life, I want to go back to Kit Island and get me a home there. And if you may have retirement income, particularly, let's say you worked at one of the corporations where you got a secure income for the rest of your life, basically. You can come in. You can come in, and we can look at your income too based on that. And you may want to build that first home in the family island, and retire on the beach, and jump in Nassau like the rest of us.
Right. Okay. Yes. I just thought I would throw that in, for our listeners to know.
Yes.
Because it's good to know. Well, Ms. Storr, it has really been interesting and an eye opener.
Okay.
You must come back, because 30 minutes is a short time.
Yes.
But you've covered a lot of ground for us. It has been really informative.
Yes.
And as you said, we do encourage particularly our young people.
Right.
Do not buy a car first. Try and get a piece of the rock first.
Get a house, get a home, yes.
A home, property, and they can go into the mortgage corporation for some assistance.
Yes, ma'am.
Or like you said, for the loan.
Yes.
I love your interest rates.
Yes.
Yes. I think that is excellent and a very good idea, how you're going into the different workplaces and telling young people, hey, get a loan from us and let that be the first thing you get in life instead of a car.
Right. Well, thank you for inviting me. You can contact us, like I said, at our head office in Russell Road and Oaksfield, or BMC Bahamas, www.bmcbahamas.com, the website, and look at it. We have the different product offerings and information there. But you can come into any one of our offices on any of the family islands too. Well, Freeport and Abaco, that is. And if you have questions, we'll be pleased to assist you.
And the other islands can contact the local administrators.
Right. Well, they can contact us. They can contact us directly at 326-5100
I was going to tell you,
like I said,
telephone
visit the
number.
website, bmcbahamas.com.
Okay.
And
what's your telephone number again?
326-5100 or 1. And we'll be pleased to assist.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It has been informative. Keep up the good works.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of Insight. I'm Pamela Isaacs. Thank you for watching. See you next time.